Thank you for joining us this afternoon. My name is Wes Sherwood with the Ford Communications team, and I'm pleased to host this webcast with my colleagues from Bedrock and Bosch. We have Tom Golding from Bedrock, Tim Wheeland from Bosch. And as we get started, just a few housekeeping items. This is clearly a webcast that you're familiar with now. There is a lag which will affect the way we're able to conduct a Q&A at the end. So we will be taking pre-submitted questions and moderating those with our executives at the end. So please submit those as we go along. And also, as you would have seen, the news is embargoed until just close to when this webcast ends at 4 p.m. Eastern today. With that, I'd like to introduce Ken Washington, Ford's Chief Technology Officer, to kick things off. Ken?
Thank you, Wes, and good afternoon. Hello, everyone. I'm so excited to be with you today. In addition to my remarks, today you will hear from leaders across the global auto industry, the commercial real estate industry, and those leading this great state of Michigan into a new era of transportation and mobility. They include Mike Mansuetti, President of Bosch in North America, Heather Wilberger, Chief Information Officer of Bedrock, and Mike Duggan, the Mayor of City of Detroit, and Garland Gilchrist II, our Lieutenant Governor in this great state of Michigan. We're pleased to be with you to discuss and show you an exciting new technology. But first, this story actually begins with the all-new F-150 that we revealed a few months ago with a number of incredible innovations. Much of the focus was on features such as a built-in generator to power electric tools or tailgate parties, and towing technologies to help hitch and move trailers more confidently. Today, however, I want to focus on the truck's embedded modem. This is technology that has swept across our lineup. This makes our vehicles more like smartphones for the road with real-time Sync 4 services and over-the-air updates that will keep our customers at the forefront of technology. And further down the road, this technological foundation opens even more possibilities, with some beginning to arrive very soon. This technology is part of the biggest disruption the automotive industry has seen since more than 100 years ago, our founder, Henry Ford, put the world on wheels. And this transformation this time will be about more than vehicles or advanced manufacturing processes. This time, it will actually be defined at the intersection of vehicles and new technologies that are making our world smarter. This includes our autonomous vehicles, of course. Even as we get ready to launch our first autonomous vehicle, we are researching future innovations that could connect these AVs to the world so they become even more aware of their surroundings. This also could allow us to reduce some of the vehicle's hardware, since the computing, or at least some of that computing, could be handled off the vehicle. That not only would help us drive down cost, but also improve design and packaging of the technology on the vehicle. This isn't far off technology like science fiction. Rather, this is similar to cellular V2X or vehicle to everything technology that we began to explore several years ago. And we plan to launch this on our conventional vehicles in the year 2022, just right around the corner. We led the industry in developing CV2X technology for the past 2 years. This took us more than 2 decades of research and technology work to prepare for this exciting future. More recently, we committed to adding this capability to our future vehicles to make people's lives better, safer, and their driving more efficient. Just imagine, even a passenger carrying a mobile phone could convey their location to this type of connected autonomous vehicle, making it aware of their location, even if they are out of the direct line of sight of the vehicle's sensor systems. This technology will also depend on cities around the world creating smarter road infrastructure, such as connected traffic signals. This is why we're working with progressive governments, such as our own state here in Michigan, Detroit, South Dade County, and the city of Miami, to test our vehicles on smart road infrastructure. We're piloting these smart intersections that are capable of running applications designed for the connected and autonomous vehicle world. And now that our autonomous vehicles, in fact, all of our vehicles have embedded modems, this advancement becomes mostly an exercise in adding a software layer to the connected vehicle foundation. We're moving aggressively on these fronts with Ford research and development underway, including the autonomous vehicle testing that we're doing in Austin, Washington, D.C., and Pittsburgh, as well as connected vehicle to everything work we're doing in pioneering areas such as Colorado and Miami. But much of this work originates right here in our own backyard in Detroit. This is why we're so excited about today's news in Corktown, the heart of Michigan Central Development, anchored by the Michigan Central Station. This district will draw mobility innovators and disruptors from all over the world to develop, test, and launch new solutions to solve urban transportation challenges, improve mobility access for everyone, and prepare for the increasingly connected and autonomous world ahead. The Michigan Central Development will help accelerate Ford's vision for the future of mobility. This future includes increasingly autonomous vehicles, increasingly automated retail and consumer vehicles, commercial vehicles that are more aware of their connected surroundings. And this area will be equipped with connected road technologies for testing of the full ecosystem, similar to what we recently announced for the Michigan Mobility Corridor, connecting Corktown to Dearborn, the Detroit Metropolitan Airport, and Ann Arbor. Many observed how AVs will be tested along this rolling laboratory, but it's important to highlight that we also will test conventional vehicles with driver assist technologies that can talk to these smart roadways. And again, the F-150, the new F-150, shows where this type of technology is headed, as we expanded our leading suite of Ford Copilot 360 technologies to help people drive even more confidently. In fact, it opens a new era of more highly automated driving by becoming the first mainstream vehicle with a hands-free, eyes-on-the-road technology that we call Active Drive Assist. We will share more about this exciting technology in the months ahead. But now, we're eager to share another example of how these advanced vehicles and technologies can get even better when connected to and communicating with a smarter world. To do this, we are pleased to partner with Bosch and Bedrock to bring this vision to life. To do that, I'm going to turn the virtual microphone over to Mike Mansuetti, President of Bosch in North America. Mike, over to you.
Thank you, Ken, and welcome everyone. Bosch shares your vision for a time when increasingly automated vehicles interact with a connected world. This intersection is core to the Bosch DNA, and for more than 135 years, we've been at the center of many automated and connected milestones. Working together with our customers, we aim to be part of many more in the future. Bosch is an innovation leader in vehicle safety, such as driver assistance and automated technology. We were conducting tests with driverless buses as far back as the 1970s. In fact, we conducted our first automated vehicle road test in Germany in 1993 as part of an early research project. Today, Bosch sensors and systems expertise are the key enablers for the driver assistance systems in the market and those planned for the future. We've manufactured millions of ultrasonic radar and camera sensors that are on vehicles all around the world. Connectivity is also part of our DNA. Bosch began developing the CAN Controller Area Network, also known as the CAN bus, as an automotive communication system over 35 years ago. And today we continue to push forward on connectivity innovations. We are working on research projects to solve key challenges in real-time communication for automotive. These solutions will enable the benefits of seamless vehicle-to-vehicle and vehicle-to-infrastructure technologies that Ken spoke of. Our sensor and connectivity expertise goes beyond the vehicle. Many of you likely have a Bosch sensor sitting right in front of you, as more than 50% of smartphones in the world include a Bosch sensor. And we're also a leading player in building infrastructure and service solutions. Bosch security cameras keep many buildings around the world safe, and we've been working on cross-domain solutions for mobility and building technologies for many years. A specific area where we've been able to apply a lot of the expertise just discussed is around parking. So I know parking doesn't sound so exciting, but at Bosch, we've been talking about the possibilities to improve the parking experience for several years. This means looking at how the sensing capabilities in the vehicle can interact with smart, connected infrastructure to improve the consumer's experience of parking a vehicle. And improving the parking experience is exactly what we're here to talk about today. I bet we find many people joining us for today's live stream love to drive. I love to drive, but I'm guessing that nobody loves to drive around the garage looking for a parking spot. Whether we enjoy it or not, parking is still an important task. Whether you're coming home to the building where you live or visiting your favorite city for a night out. With connected vehicles and smart infrastructure, Bosch can improve the parking experience. And let's take a look at how we're doing that right here in Detroit. We are very proud to announce Ford, Bedrock, and Bosch are launching a parking demonstration project at Bedrock's Assembly Garage in Detroit. Thanks to the Bosch smart infrastructure inside the garage, connected escape test vehicles from Ford will be able to drive and park themselves. It's the first infrastructure-based solution in the U.S. for automated valet parking where the vehicle will drive itself to park. At Bosch, we call the solution Automated Valet Parking, or AVP for short. The connected Ford test vehicles operate in a highly automated fashion by communicating with the Bosch intelligent parking infrastructure. The infrastructure sensors recognize and localize the vehicle to help reliably guide its parking maneuver, including the ability to stop or to help avoid pedestrians and other hazards. If the infrastructure senses something in the path, it can stop the vehicle immediately. The user experience is quite simple. Upon arriving into the garage, a driver will leave the vehicle in a designated area and use an app to send the vehicle into an automated parking maneuver. That same app enables them to request the return of the vehicle to that same designated pickup area. The solution isn't just about consumer convenience. For example, parking garage operators can use their space more efficiently. With automated valet parking, the same amount of space can accommodate up to 20% more vehicles. The solution can be deployed via retrofitted solutions like the one in the assembly garage, or with embedded infrastructure planned into the construction of new garages that enables optimized design for maximum capacity. The assembly garage will have the automated valet parking demonstration from Ford, Bedrock, and Bosch on display through the end of September. During that time, we will be hosting private demonstrations of the technology. All three of our organizations will gain valuable insights that will help us to expand this technology in the future. Now, I'd like to turn it over to Heather Wilberger to talk more about how automated parking fits into Bedrock's broader strategy in Detroit.
Thanks, Mike. Bedrock is thrilled to join Bosch and Ford to announce this partnership. They bring the technical and auto expertise, but as a real estate company, we fully understand the importance of new mobility options for not only our residents and tenants, but Detroiters as a whole. Today's announcement is another piece of the puzzle for positioning Detroit as an innovation hub and leader in smart city development. I hope you're able to visit the assembly garage and view the demonstration in person. But as Ken mentioned, it is perfectly positioned to align with Ford's growing mobility innovation district in Detroit's Courttown neighborhood. When Bedrock initially acquired the assembly building, it was an abandoned warehouse. Since we have integrated its historic architecture with modern comfort design and style, a perfect reflection of today's demonstration, which combines a traditional parking deck with the future of smart parking technology. As a company, we are no stranger to modern parking and smart city development. It is our mission to provide a variety of comprehensive mobility and parking options that allow the city's residents and visitors to choose how and when and where they engage. From a person who is stopping to pick up flowers or a bite to eat, to an office worker or local resident, we want Detroit to be known as the city for driving mobility innovation and offering comprehensive parking solutions for everyone. Those of you from the West Coast may have heard of a little startup called Scoop. They specialize in connecting commuters using a ride-sharing app, and in 2019, Bedrock partnered with them to bring the technology here to Detroit. This was their first expansion outside of the West Coast. In 2017, we also partnered with a local startup, May Mobility, to bring full autonomous shuttles to the streets of Detroit. This pilot was the first commercial deployment of independent autonomous shuttles in any American city, and we are the Motor City, so why wouldn't it be here? In 2018, we incorporated May vehicles into our shuttle routes full-time, where they are currently transporting team members along a continuous 1-mile loop to and from their parking garages. And just a few weeks ago, we announced that one of our historic developments will soon be home to the Midwest's first fully automated parking system. We worked with AutoParkit to create a custom below-ground deck for our Press 321 development. This robotic stall allows residents and office tenants to pull up and have their cars stored and retrieved using street-level load bays and is expected to go online in 2021. And today, we're excited to partner with Ford and Bosch to bring another level of mobility innovation to the city. Ford and Bosch are two companies whose reputation precedes them. They excel in their industries, but also take an authentic interest to their communities and how new technology might impact them. That's exactly what we're doing with this project and this partnership, launching new technology directly into a consumer-oriented structure and focusing on how consumers can and will interact with it. The benefit for both garage operators and users is astronomical. As an end user, imagine being able to pull up to your destination and immediately enjoy the city without the stress of finding parking. You have a quicker and more enjoyable parking experience and no longer have to worry about the little things like a dinged car door or dealing with someone who is double parked. The benefit to garage owners comes in the form of operating costs, user enjoyment, and revenue. We are able to retrofit existing garages for a better, smoother, and more accessible parking experience. And more spaces per size of the garage directly correlates to increased revenue. And with the lack of human interaction, we're also able to account for things like better security, less dropped garbage or debris, and even reduced lighting and heating expense. But more importantly, we are able to construct smaller garages that can hold the same, if not more, vehicles than a traditional parking deck. This allows us to focus valuable real estate space for beautification projects and urban development that all of Detroit can use. It's technologies like this that provide the last mile of connectivity and transportation that will really help drive Detroit's smart city development forward. We look forward to watching the AVP technology in action and for all of the exciting mobility initiatives to come in the city of Detroit in the future. And now I'll pass to one of the biggest proponents of smart city development, Mayor Mike Duggan.
Well, this is exciting, and Ford and Bosch and Bedrock, thank you. 5 years ago, Detroit never would have imagined that one of its primary choke points in development would be a lack of parking, but it's very much a problem today, and the cost of construction of the new decks is slowing a number of projects. The idea that you could get 20% more vehicles in our existing decks just solves a practical problem. So that by itself would be great, but we have been in a battle between Detroit and Silicon Valley, and the future of automated vehicles, the future of mobility, and there's arguments in both places, but we have been continuing to fight back. And certainly what Ford did in buying the Michigan Central Depot and establishing it as a center for the design of automated and electric vehicles was a huge step forward. And then Waymo made a decision that the place that they wanted to install the self-driving systems was in the city of Detroit, because that's where the manufacturing expertise was. Stephen Ross has offered an extraordinary gift that's going to build a University of Michigan graduate school in downtown Detroit that is going to have as one of its featured curriculums the automated vehicle, electric vehicle mobility functions, which means that the engineers, the technicians of the future are going to be trained right here in the city and go straight to work into these companies. And then last week, Lieutenant Governor Garland Gilchrist is leading an effort where the state of the Michigan and the city are working with Ford, and we are going to design an automated vehicle lane, whatever you'd like to call it, that runs from downtown Detroit to the airport. And the questions like, are you going to mix automated vehicles and driver vehicles in the same lane? Or do you need to build a dedicated lane? What infrastructure do you need to do that? We've got the room here on the streets of Detroit all the way out to Ann Arbor, and we're going to design that. We know that we're in competition for the young talent with Chicago and Indianapolis and Pittsburgh, and these individuals can go any place they want. But a big part of what drives this next generation is a desire to design the future of mobility. And it isn't the same as when I rushed down to the Secretary of State on my 16th birthday to get my driver's license. And with this kind of a feature, it's just one more message that the city of Detroit is the place where the future of mobility is going to be developed. And with that, I want to turn it over to somebody who's been a nonstop champion for this, and a fellow resident of the city of Detroit, our Lieutenant Governor Garland Gilchrist.
Mr. Mayor, thank you so much. I want to thank you for the partnership and leadership that you've shown, not just with the state, but with all of our private sector partners, not only in this effort with Bosch and Ford and Bedrock, but across a wide cross-section of industries who are stepping up to recognize that not only is innovation possible in Detroit, Michigan, but that in order for innovation to truly reach the people and the markets that it needs to meet, it needs to be successful and deployed in Detroit, Michigan. So thank you for creating the conditions for that to be successful. On behalf of the whole state of Michigan, I'm very excited about this project. And the mayor was telling the truth. I live and breathe this mobility stuff very deeply as someone who is a Corktown resident. So I'm proud that this is happening in the neighborhood that I live in and I'm currently speaking with you from. But also as someone who has lived some of the real pain and pressure points of the constraints of our mobility infrastructure previously. I had a very challenging non-public sector transit commute via bus from Detroit to Ann Arbor for about a year before I came into office. And so while I see that piece as being very critical, that's why the corridor lane is so important, that project that we launched, another partnership with Ford. But I think this question of how we can truly build connected infrastructure and how that infrastructure can be leveraged by the technology that is embedded into vehicles is really the next chapter. And I don't think parking is boring at all. I think it actually is one of the most one of the more high touch experiences we have as drivers and as people who consume mobility experiences. And so thinking about this literal last, not even last mile, but last set of feet, and connecting people in a way that allows that to be safe, to be efficient, and to allow people, frankly, to focus on the things they need to do after they park. I think is really not only a keen insight, but also an important demonstration of how technology is always intended to be. And that's a tool to enable us humans to be our best selves, to be more productive, to be more mindful, and ultimately to do the things that only we can do. And so this is a very exciting moment. And I also want to recognize the innovation that is present here, not just in the technology, but also in the relationships. A real estate company, a technical infrastructure partner, and an OEM automotive manufacturer partnering with the public sector to make this come together. This kind of collaboration is what ultimately will help our city and our state win the future. Know that the Michigan Economic Development Corporation will continue to be a partner and an ally in this progress. The Office of the Future of Mobility and Electrification, which is where we are housing and having sort of be a single point of contact, expertise, and ideas from the state of Michigan, is going to work diligently and going to work quite passionately beside all of you and beside all of those who are wishing to deploy their mobility solutions here in the best market with the best set of environments and the best set of scenarios that any sort of mobility solution provider could dream of here in the state of Michigan. And this partnership and this project is no exception. So I look forward to not only seeing this particular demonstration bear fruit and see it manifest itself in other forms of infrastructure, in parking garages and in parking lots and in all these sorts of parking scenarios. But I look forward to the creativity that it will inspire, because I believe that others will not only see this experience, but also learn about it through this kind of announcements and through the continuing coverage of it. And they'll be inspired to come up with other ideas that will complement and show that we can have a comprehensive set of mobility solutions that tackle all of the challenges and opportunities that exist in the mobility space, and that we can demonstrate, deploy, and deliver them here for the people of Michigan, and do so in a way that makes it possible for everyone in the world to continue to benefit from the ideas that emanate from our state. So with that, I appreciate it. I want to hand it back over to the moderator.
Thank you, Lieutenant Governor. With that, we're going to take you live to Detroit and Corktown's neighborhood for a demonstration of the technology.
Good afternoon. I'm Kevin Bopp, Bedrock's Vice President of Parking and Mobility. Our company is committed to delivering unique experiences through real estate. And through today's demonstration, we continue that rich tradition in partnership with Ford and Bosch.
Hi, I'm Greg Stevens. I'm the Global Manager for Driver Assistance Technologies at Ford Motor Company.
Good afternoon. I'm Kevin Mall. I'm with Bosch Mobility Solutions, and I have the honor of doing the play-by-play today for the demonstration you're about to see. So we've already got our safety vehicle, or our safety driver in the vehicle, and the vehicle is in the drop zone, has already arrived. Had I come in the vehicle, I would have stepped out of the vehicle and I would have initiated the parking process with an app on my smartphone. So I did that, and now we will begin the parking process. So you can see that the vehicle is started, and it will begin its path to the designated parking spot. So when the vehicle arrived in the garage, it connected to the garage's Wi-Fi, and a series of sensors that have been installed, which could be either LiDAR or stereo cameras, is talking to the Bosch Garage server and giving the vehicle instruction on where the designated parking spot is and the path to find it. So now you're seeing the first safety demonstration of the system. You can see a pedestrian entered the path of the vehicle, and it safely came to a stop to allow the pedestrian to exit that path. And now the vehicle is returning onto its designated spot.
Our Ford Escape has connectivity to connect it to the Bosch smart infrastructure, and it also has computer-controlled steering, throttle, and brakes, as well as the ability to remotely start and stop, operate the turn signals, lock and unlock. All of this is technology that's available in our production vehicles today.
So if you can imagine, for purposes of today's demonstration, that this were an electric vehicle that might need charging while our guest is off at a meeting or dining, It goes back to an opportunity that Lieutenant Governor Gilchrist referenced. Parking is an incredibly high-touch opportunity. And so most of us are familiar with parking attendants in garages and lots, but imagine instead if they acted like a concierge. When you arrive, they offer you wayfinding directions. They can assist you with making meal reservations. And in this case, if the garage didn't have inductive charging for our electric vehicle, they could plug the vehicle in to begin that charging session and also unplug it when the session was complete.
So now the vehicle is arriving at its destination as designated by the garage server, and will complete the parking process. The vehicle will power down, parking brake is set, and whatever the services are that could be enabled, like EV charging, could begin at this time. So now imagine that our driver has completed their business in the city, whether it was a walk to the park or maybe a stroll on the local greenway or just coming back from a meeting. The driver would then initiate, again with the smartphone app, the process of having the vehicle return to the pickup zone. So the vehicle is summoned, it restarts, and then it begins to navigate back to the pickup zone. And the driver would arrive at the garage to find their vehicle waiting for them. And this dramatically simplifies that parking process.
One of the things that might occur to you watching the demonstration is the speed of the vehicle. And today we're moving at a deliberately lower speed than the technology is equipped to support. But I don't know about you. In my case, while I love driving, I tend to hurry as I'm parking. And that means we don't always travel at the safest speed. But this technology will ensure that we're always traveling safely through facilities.
So now you're about to see the next safety stop. You can see an object entered the path of the vehicle again, and the vehicle braked to avoid that obstacle until it was clear, and then it continued forward. So the vehicle is returning to the pickup zone, and you can imagine that the driver is either walking up to the vehicle or is already there waiting for it when it arrives, but has avoided the experience of having to wander around the parking garage looking for their car. So a real optimization of the parking process. So that completes our demonstration today. I'd like to thank Kevin and Greg for their support, and I want to hand it back to Wes.
Thank you, Kevin. And with that, we'll move over to the Q&A. You should be able to see the first 4 questions we have online. I will just mention that the Lieutenant Governor and Mayor had to leave, so we'll have our executives available for questions. The first is for Mike, and the question is the Bosch intelligent infrastructure used in this garage the same as that you showed with Daimler Mercedes-Benz in Germany last year?
Thank you for the question. Yes, this is the same technology. It's an infrastructure-based technology using our LiDAR system. So this is the same setup that we used in Daimler, that we used in Stuttgart with the demonstration that we made in Germany. So yes, we're proud to now bring this and partner with Ford and Bedrock to continue the learnings here in Detroit.
Great, thanks, Mike. And that question came to us from Alexa St. John at Automotive News. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Lex.
And we will stay with you, Mike, for a question from Bill Visnick on how this technology demo, as a first for North America, what happens after we're done with the project in September? I guess I'm sorry. This is for Heather. Will you change will you keep the technology in the garage, or will it revert back to conventional parking?
I think there's a lot of interesting problems we're working through and solutions in terms of what are we going to do with the technology, with some more exciting things to talk about in the future. I think Bedrock is absolutely committed to looking at how we leverage exciting technology with our partners locally in real estate and how that translates out to parking. So can't give a real definitive answer yet, so more to come.
And then, Mike, the first part of the question was for you on confirming that this is a North America first demonstration.
Yes, this is our first North American demonstration of the automated valet parking with the infrastructure-based solution.
Great. And then back to Heather. On the claim that you can fit 20% more cars with this type of technology, is that because they park closer together and you don't have to worry about doors opening and dinging other cars? And if so, does that mean then that every vehicle has to be equipped with this technology to get the benefit?
So the answer is yes. I mean, but I think the thing that's important here is that the technology in the garage is integratable and adaptable, and we're able to position this technology, whether it be in an older garage, a pre-existing garage, or new construction. So, I mean, the answer is absolutely yes, but it's a great flexible use of technology.
Great. And back to Mike with Bosch.
Mm-hmm.
Can you elaborate exactly on what equipment, sensors, embedded gear must be installed in the garage to make AVP work, and what new and unique sensors and communication equipment is required on board the vehicle to communicate with it? So Ken can take that part.
Yeah, I'll take the infrastructure, and then Ken can talk about the vehicle. For the infrastructure, what you see there, the LiDAR is really the basis. The LiDAR was our first approach and our first sensor we're using. We're also, as mentioned, we can do this also with video technology, so a stereo video camera. We can do that. That brings some other features for the garage owner, such as security and other things. But in addition to the LiDAR sensors, then there's all the cabling, the Ethernet cable. There's a small room for the server room, and that is basically it, in addition to what the functionalities of the vehicle and the onboard systems that are in the vehicle and integrated in the vehicle today. So I'll let Ken maybe take it from there.
Thanks, Mike, and thanks, Wes, for the question. So the most important piece of equipment that has to be on the vehicle for this technology to work, and many others, as I mentioned in my remarks, is the embedded modem. Because basically what's happening in this prototype that we shared today is the garage is actually pulling the vehicle into the parking space. And so the vehicle is receiving messages from the garage using the modem, and then that's sending commands to the steering, braking, and acceleration modules on the vehicle. And so the steering has to be able to be controlled using messages coming from the modem, and so steer-by-wire is an important factor that has to be included on the vehicle. But other than that, it's pretty much as we have on our current commercially available vehicles. But the modem is the key piece of technology for this type of infrastructure-based smart parking. I might mention, because of the question, that there are alternative options for how you would implement an automated valet parking, which is it puts more of the intelligence in the vehicle. And for that type, the requirements for the vehicle are more significant. But that's a little further off, and that's a totally different technology and approach. But we're looking at all those options.
Yeah. Maybe to add to that,
Great.
there is a server in the garage, so the Bosch parking server in the garage, and then the Wi-Fi, of course, the Wi-Fi network that is communicating with the vehicle to the modem.
Thank you, Mike and Ken. And that question came from Frank Marcus. Thank you for that. And Gary Vaslesh is asking for Mike, what happens if a random parking cone, for example, happens to fall on the drive path? Does the car just sit there, or can it communicate to the garage parking attendant?
So it would have right now it would stop, as you saw in some of the demonstrations. If the infrastructure senses that something's in the way, then the vehicle will stop and come to a safe stop. If that doesn't move, then of course it would have the opportunity to communicate with the parking attendant, but it would have to be let's say a physical interaction there to help clear the way so that the vehicle could proceed. But thank you for the question, Gary.
Sorry, we're coming in live here with another question to stay with Mike.
Yeah.
And the question is, how many LiDAR cameras do you need? And surely they don't need to all be on the ground. Looks like a lot of sensors in the way, and perhaps because we weren't able to elaborate in the demo some of the other possible technologies for this, maybe you can get into that too, a bit.
Yeah, the number of sensors is very dependent upon the garage and the area in the garage. So what we're trying to deal with, I would say what you see there in the demonstration is somewhat typical. I mean, there are also a lot of sensors there as we are doing a demo here, and we're planning to learn quite a lot on this. The other sensors that we're working on and kind of the next generation technology to follow on would be the stereo video camera. So these could be installed throughout the garage, and again, could be used for other features, things like security or even seeing around corners or, communicating to other aspects of the vehicle. So, but we'd be glad to discuss more with our technical experts regarding the placement and the number of sensors. But it's very, let's say, architecture dependent, depending upon the layout of the garage.
Great, thanks. And I think maybe related to one of the earlier question from Phoebe Wall-Howard. If there's a power outage, are vehicles held hostage? And that goes to Mike.
Oh, that's a good question. I'm not quite sure, actually, to how we would solve that. I think with the battery backup, we want to avoid any cases where the power would be out. So again, these are the types of things, and this is why we're doing this actual demonstration. We want to continue to learn about all things. And I think also from a redundancy and a resiliency point and, kind of looking at everything that can happen, that what can go wrong probably will go wrong. So that's something that we're going to have to take a look at and make sure, because definitely we do not want any vehicle stranded in the garage.
Thanks, Mike. And the questions.
I would add very quickly
go ahead,
to that piece for what Mike had mentioned is that with a concierge in the garage, which Kevin Bopp mentioned earlier, we would hope to be able to accommodate things like a power outage, so that we would actually have that high-touch human experience physically in the garage to help with situations like that.
Yeah.
Hey, I'd like to add to that, because it's such an important question, because this question is pointing out that the act of using automation or autonomy technology on vehicles in any setting requires the vehicle to deal with all these types of questions like edge cases. And so working through the response for how you would deal with such edge cases, we could probably think of hundreds of examples of things that could go wrong. This is why it's so important to do prototypes and pilots like this, so you can explore all of these edge cases from a human-centered point of view first, and then come up with a response for how you're going to deal with it, so that when you're ready to deploy this in a actual service, the users of the technology will have the best experience possible. So this is what we're hard at work on doing as we speak, for not just this technology, but for all of the different types of driver assist technologies and full autonomous driving technology that we're doing in cities.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, Ken.
Thank you, Ken.
Oh, go ahead, Mike.
I just said thank you, Ken. That's the learning is very important here, and it's so exciting that we can collaborate together to learn together to continue to push this technology forward.
Great. And then if we can stick with Ken, just as the questions slow down here, I think as the public starts hearing about this, a question we expect a lot is, when can I go to a dealership and buy this technology in a vehicle?
Yeah, that, we often get that question when we show technology that's not yet production quality or production ready, I should say. And we always have the somewhat unsatisfying answer of we don't have a tangible date to share with you. But I can tell you is that bringing automated valet parking of more than one type is absolutely squarely on our high priority roadmap, because we're very, very focused on bringing better experiences to our customers, both retail and commercial vehicle customers. And we have heard loud and clear from our commercial customers and from our retail customers that this is a real pain point. And we've also observed that as we've done many of our mobility activities in cities, that parking is a pain point that needs to have solutions. So we're hard at work on it, and when we're ready to put it into a vehicle and announce that vehicle to the public, you won't miss it. We'll be very explicit about being, telling you when it's going to be available. So stay tuned.
Thanks, Ken. And we're going to wrap it up with one more question from Sebastian Blanco. So in the scenario we talked about where an attendant might have to get to a vehicle, how would that happen since they're parked so close to each other, given that you're trying to squeeze in more vehicles into the same space? Heather, could you maybe take that one?
Yeah, I mean, good question. And I think to Ken's earlier point, I mean, with this being a demo, the purpose is really to discover things like this for the real world and how we apply that moving forward. And as a real estate company, what's important to us in these demonstrations are the learnings in our design of our garages. And as we continue to kind of test and see where these opportunities for different design elements to be brought into our garages, these demonstrations help identify those.
Great. Thank you for that, Heather. Thank you to all three of you and to all of our guests who have joined. As we get more questions, we will take those offline and send to you separately responses. But we're going to wrap for now. And you should have received a link from me with the embargoed news materials for when the embargo lifts in 10 minutes. So you should have everything you need. But Tim, Tom, and I are here if you have questions. So thank you all for joining us today. Thank you to Ken, Heather, and Mike for leading the way on this and partnering up. And we'll look forward to seeing everybody soon.
Thank you.